This podcast is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. Visit the Tech Podcast Network at www.techpodcast.com. If it's tech, it's here. Welcome to CalCast, your creative national podcast. Welcome to the Gospel Gadget Podcast, episode 33. Welcome, CalCast listeners, to another episode of CalCast, the podcast about how God is using new media and technology for missions today. I'm Cal Curtis, your host, here to bring you the latest in gospel gadgets and technology for finishing the task of world evangelization.
This podcast is proudly listed at podcastpickle.com.
Welcome, listeners, to Gospel Gadget Podcast, formerly known as CalCast, your Creator National podcast. We've changed the name to Gospel Gadgets because we want to show you what God is doing in terms of using technology to spread the gospel message all over the world and especially cross-culturally towards unreached peoples. The next few episodes, we will actually be putting some vidcasts and some explanation podcasts about some of the most exciting new gospel gadgets that are being used to spread the gospel message to people groups around the world in different languages and adapted to different cultures. So we'll be focusing kind of a mixture of audio podcasts and vidcasts because we need to be able to show you these gospel gadgets and how they work.
Man, there is something highly energizing about stepping out in faith and taking God at His word and responding to the opportunity to serve Him in ways where He can take the things that He's built into our life, our talents, our time, our treasure, and we're using that for His honor and His glory. That is the story behind our special guest, called to serve in ways that would take all of his talents and now use them on the foreign mission field. Join us right now on Man to Man Express, the radio ministry of Iron Sharpens Iron. I'm Dave Beggery. Joining us again today is Steve Baldwin. Steve stepped into some very creative work using his video background, his filmmaking background to reach people in the third world. And he shares more about that today. Steve, we learned this week how God moved your family to Thailand. What's it like to be doing what you love most?
Yeah, there's these moments where my wife and I literally have to stop and pinch ourselves. Could we really be living this life where we're in Thailand, eating Thai food, which is phenomenal, and being able to serve the Lord in the capacity that we do? I absolutely love my job. For me, it's the best job on the planet.
I think our listeners would be interested to hear. Okay, so you're a filmmaker. Give us a scenario of what that would look like. So you land back in Thailand in a couple of weeks. What might your next assignment look like?
Well, it's possible that we could be on a plane going to India to work with a specific people group within India that has no church, no missionary presence, and really no hope of hearing the gospel. And they're oral learners, and they're probably largely illiterate, maybe 60% of them. So how do you bring the gospel to a people like that? Well, you use audio visuals because that's something that they will pay attention to. I mean, even if they should have the Bible in their language, they might not be predisposed or capable of reading it. But that doesn't mean we can't take the gospel to them. So we would go and find out as much as we could about this group of people and try to find a way that we could share Jesus with them in a culturally relevant way. Then we partner with these people, with some there that may be Christians. It's bound to be a real minority, a percentage of a percentage. But we would find those people and partner with them, or a ministry that was trying to reach them and we would develop a script. Then we would cast local actors, find local locations, and we would go out and shoot a film that looks exactly like their culture. It would look like they made that movie themselves.
Steve, once these evangelistic productions are complete, how do you distribute them in Asia? What's the media platform?
We're so passionate about getting these messages out to people that, as far as we're concerned, we don't care how it gets distributed. We actually hear stories that our films have been pirated by local shops that have somehow gotten a copy of the DVD, and they went into their back room and made a bajillion copies of it, and the film's just gotten out there. Because often we have made, as a ministry, the first film that's ever been made in the language of those people. Because not every language group on the planet is making films. But if we go in and make a film in their language and in their culture, they're immediately interested in it. So often the first film that's ever been made in their language is a gospel film about Jesus. And it doesn't matter if they're a Buddhist or a Hindu or a Muslim.
They get a movie.
Yeah. If it's in their language, they just want to see it.
That's right. That is the coolest thing. If our listeners, Steve, want to see some of maybe what you've done, what you've shot, can they see that online?
Yeah, it would be easy for you to Google Create International, go to createinternational.com. We have a website also that provides free downloadable resources that can be used for your next outreach to these locations in the world, and that would be indigitech.net. You could go there and find a number of different resources available for you.
Awesome. Anything that you'd name that you've produced that our listeners be interested in seeing?
The film for the Shan people of Burma, or Myanmar as it's known, called Retaliate with Love, is a project that I'm very proud to have been a part of.
We're talking about evangelistic films that are being used now in the 1040 window to reach the unreached for Christ. Steve Baldwin responded to that call from New England to go to Thailand and now serve as a filmmaker, putting films in the language of the people. It is an amazing story. Find out more when you log onto our website, ironsharpensiron.net. Click on the radio tab. And also when you go to Iron Sharpens Iron, take a look at the 2012 conference lineup. ironsharpensiron.net. We'll finish our conversation on Thursday.